Not everything that walks the hospital halls at night is alive. Some arrive long after their final breath and still seek help. Welcome back to another episode here on Creepy with Coffee, and this is Kim, your storyteller. Well, before we get on to tonight's story, I wanted to say thank you to this anonymous email. Well, he or she gave me a name but wanted to remain anonymous. So this person, the one who sent an email, say that he works in a crematorium. So these are the stories sent in by him. First story, the doppelganger. I was supposed to team up with a colleague who I will name A. I reached around 30 minutes for work and saw colleague A and I said hi to him. The exchange of greeting was normal, but when our first case came, he was nowhere to be found. I went to the other team and checked if he happened to be there, but to no avail. Another colleague named B said I should just check if his bag is there. I didn't find it, and shortly after, he called the team leader explaining he isn't feeling well. This is A, yeah? And will be seeing a doctor. So who was the person I saw? Up until now, I still have no answer. And the second story is called The Voice. I was doing my work, bringing down the coffin for cremation, and a voice called out, a normal voice, someone familiar. I ignored it as I shouldn't be hearing his voice where I am. And after a few attempts, the voice changed. It became something deeper, inhuman, like voice, like something echoed in my head from somewhere far away, but yet sounded close in my ears. Being a free thinker, I thought nothing of it and just continued working until the voice was gone. Never heard the voice again. Thank you very much for this particular person who sent in this email. Well, I'm sure your work has plenty more other stories. Now, let's get on to tonight's story.
This is Creepy with Coffee.
Tonight's story is somewhat related, whereby this person is also working closely with death. So the story goes like this. If you ever work in a hospital, especially during the night shift, you would know there's always something strange, unsettling. I once worked at a night shift at a hospital in the East Coast of Malaysia back in 1994. I was in my early 20s. Fresh into the job, I've been assigned as the penjaga bilik mayat, the morgue attendant. Even the title still gives me chills. It wasn't a job I planned on keeping long, just 6 months in total. I didn't have the stomach for the things that lurk beyond the living. Still, I held on until the night that changed everything. That night, about 2 months into the job, the morgue was silent. It was just past midnight. I was alone as usual in that cold, eerie space. The only sound was the dull hum of the overhead lights and the occasional creak of the building settling into its age. Fatigue crept in, so I leaned my head against the cold wall behind me, hoping for a few minutes of light rest. Then, footsteps, slow, deliberate, and unmistakably headed in my direction. My eyes flew open. Maybe it was a supervisor making a surprise round, but when I looked around, there was no one. It's just me, and yet the footsteps were getting closer, louder. My heart started racing. The air felt colder. Something wasn't right. The sound faded after a minute, and I let out a breath. Maybe I was just hearing things. But just 10 minutes later, the sound returned. But this time, followed by a figure, an elderly man holding the hand of a young boy. They slowly walked toward me from the shadows of the hallway. He looked to be in his late 60s, face stern, almost pale under the fluorescent lights. The boy beside him seemed about 9-10 years old, silent, clinging to the man's side. He asked, Dek, di mana bilik kecemasan? Where is the emergency room? I pointed at the direction, straight down, then right. He looked at me, gave a normal, friendly smile and nodded. Terima kasih, Dek. Then, with the boy in tow, he walked past me into the corridor leading out of the morgue wing. But even as I watched them disappear into the hallway, something didn't sit right. Why were they near the morgue to begin with? The ER was on the other end of the hospital. I stood up and followed them from a distance just to be sure they didn't get lost. Well, hospital ground, right? So I followed from the back and I saw them enter the emergency room. I quickly followed from the back. But when the moment I opened the door, I couldn't see. The old man and the young boy are no longer there. They seem to be just vanished. I mean, literally vanished. I ran in behind them, but the room was empty. No one had entered before me. So I walked in further ahead where there are staffs. Then I saw one of the nurses. I asked, did an old man with a boy came in just now? She looked at me and puzzled and said, only you came in. Cold dread washed over me. Then my walkie-talkie crackled to life. Return to the morgue immediately. There are new bodies. I rushed back. 2 gurneys were being wheeled in. I helped guide them into the morgue's washing area. As I pushed the first one, the edge of the sheet covering the face slipped off. I froze. It was the elderly man I had just seen. Stern face, exact same wrinkles, and the same grey hair. I was shocked, obviously. I immediately went to the second body. I pulled back the cloth covering it. My legs nearly gave away. It was the same boy. The same boy that had been holding the man's hand less than an hour ago. I turned to the hospital staff, barely able to speak, but managed to mutter that few words. When did they... Oh, ini baru sampai. Dua-dua meninggal dalam kemalangan jalan raya. Lebih kurang pukul 11 malam tadi. I couldn't believe it. Because I had just spoke to these 2 persons at midnight. I had seen them, heard their voices. Who or what had come to ask for directions? I sat alone outside the morgue as dawn broke, trying to make sense of what had happened. Maybe it was their spirits. Maybe it was the Korean, their doppelgangers, still searching for where they needed to go. Or maybe they were simply lost souls trying to find the emergency room one last time. Some say the dead never truly rest until they completed what they are supposed to complete. And until today, the person say he still wonder, what if he never told them the way? Would they still be lost in that hospital hallway? Well, that's all for tonight's story. Thank you very much for listening in. If you have a story in the hospital, in the morgue, or anywhere else, you know where to find me. Thank you very much for watching, and good night.